Hi, everyone, and welcome to Wine.com Experiences. I'm Gwendolyn Osborne. As you can see today, we are getting into the holiday spirit as we talk about holiday wine picks. I realize the holidays this year look a little bit different, but there's still always wonderful ways to give the gift of wine. If you purchase this trio of wines ahead of time on Wine.com, I encourage you to go ahead and get these wines open, pour them into some glassware. They're the kinds of wines that really do well with a little bit of air, and if you can allow them to open up in your glass while we're chatting, that's perfect. If you don't have the wines, no problem. This set is still available on Wine.com, and this video lives on our Wine.com YouTube channel after today. The three wines that we are tasting in order are the Tyler Winery Santa Barbara Chardonnay, the brewer-clifton Santa Rita Hills Pinot Noir, and Chateau Le Neurt Les Cassanes Côte-Rhône Village. So three wonderful wines, great for the holidays. And of course, as always, we have some great guests, some very fun and exciting people with a slew of wine knowledge that are going to be here. They've each picked wine and they're going to tell us why they think this is perfect for the holidays. If you were to count up the awards and accolades that these guests have received for their wine writing, their education, their passion for wine, we would need an extra hour. So we are going to introduce them and then we are going to get tasting. So please welcome Ray Isle, who's executive wine editor of Food and Wine magazine. Ray, hello, welcome.
Hey, it's good to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. I kind of wish I was in that room with you now.
Yeah, but it's a nice place to be, I have to say.
It looks great. We also have Karen McNeill, who is author of the highly acclaimed Wine Bible. Karen, welcome.
Hi, Gwendolyn.
Hi.
Pleasure to be here.
I'm so thrilled that you're here to talk wine with us, so thank you. And of course, we also have wine educator and author Kevin Zraly back for his second time on the Wine.com Experiences show, if you will. So Kevin, hello, welcome back.
Thank you. I just want you to know, everybody knows that I have Santa Claus on my side. Santa Claus is going to be drinking with us, just so you know. And you'll know by the beard will be red, because I'm doing a red one. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. We look forward to finding out what Santa's favorite wine is.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see how that goes. Okay, well, again, thank you all three for being here. Understanding that holiday entertaining is going to look a lot different this year, probably a lot more intimate and not quite what we're all used to. That said, I think that wine during the holidays is definitely still something to think about when it comes to either that more intimate small group entertaining, for dining, for gift giving. So I would love to see if you could give us some of your kind of general tips, your top things you would share with people about giving the gift of wine or selecting wines for the holidays. So Ray, why don't we go ahead and start with you?
I mean, 2020 is the year of wine for a lot of people. It's not just the holidays. There's been a lot of wine consumed in my house. And yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a weird year. Our Thanksgiving was just a tiny bit smaller than it normally is. We usually have about 28 people and we had about 3. But at the same time, it's still it's still the same thing. You get together with people you love and you eat some amazing food and you drink some good wine. And I think particularly this year, I've been trying to drink things that I have some kind of attachment to, whether they came from my cellar or whether they have a memory tied to them of a trip I took or, times that I had them with other people. I think that it's been a tough year for a lot of people in a lot of ways. And I think that wine, in addition to tasting great and being what I do for a living, it has some emotional content. It's a conduit for talking to other people. And so if you have that bottle that you had at a birthday celebration 10 years ago or something like that and can have again, it's nice to summon up good memories with it, I think.
Yeah. When we can't travel, maybe something you've done while you traveled or something like that.
Yeah. I travel
with a bottle of wine.
Yeah. I have a real exciting time traveling from Brooklyn to Manhattan and back. It's it's really, really great.
So I like that. I like that kind of connection to take with you. So brings you back to good memories, and you don't have to share as much.
No, I mean, you don't
Really
have
go
to
for the
share it all
good
if you don't want. You may get in trouble with your spouse, but it's a, it's a year of isolation. You want to sit in the closet and drink your wine by yourself. Go right ahead.
Thank you. So Karen, what about you? What are some thoughts that you would share?
Yeah, I agree with Ray that wine is excitement, but it's also solace. And, God, I'm so grateful and thankful for wine every night of our lives right now. But in terms of gift giving, I think, it is still wonderful and easy to send someone a bottle of wine. But my tip would be don't send one bottle, send two. I remember when I was a young journalist, there were people in the wine industry who came before me who were fantastic. And whenever they came over for dinner, they always brought two bottles. They would always bring something to drink right now, like here, have this with pizza tomorrow night or pasta or whatever. And then here, put this one away or save it for, a few months from now at least. And I remember the generosity and the spirit of that because when someone brings you one bottle, you think, "Ooh, I'm kind of intrigued to open this right now." But it's kind of fun to give someone something that they can do right now and something that they can save and remember this gift later. So my advice would be to bring two bottles, send two bottles, not one.
Yeah. The next time they open, I'll be like, "Oh, do you remember 2020?" Jeez.
I know. Yes, exactly.
I'm so glad we're back. We're here now, or wherever they are. So I love that idea. I think that's wonderful. I'll make sure to do that myself. So Kevin, what about you? Gift giving, entertaining, dining.
Thank you. I send cases of wines, not two bottles. Cases.
Hey, I didn't get my case yet, Kevin.
Hey, man,
But I will say this, that I will admit this now. My hair is getting grayer. I turned 70 in 3 weeks from now, and I made a decision at the beginning of the New Year's resolution that I was going to drink every bottle of wine in my wine cellar that was 20 years or older. So I've been having a pretty good year, I want you to know. But that's not gift giving. I really do have another philosophy, which is I think that Ray and Karen were talking about their wine friends, okay? But my philosophy is never give good wine to your relative. Okay, that's number one. Or your friends, they have no idea what you're drinking. So you keep a really good bottle in the kitchen because you're cooking, of course, and you drink that wine there. But I will say this, and that's a little bit of a joke, but
I've done that.
And Karen, Ray, and Gwendolyn, we were all talking earlier. This is the greatest time in the history of wine for quality and price, and that's, I think, one of the reasons I've chosen the wine. Later on, we'll talk about price-quality relationship, that you can buy hundreds and hundreds of wines under $20 a bottle that are fantastic.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, these are all fantastic tips. Thank you. I'm going to incorporate all of those for myself as well. So let's get to tasting these wines, figuring out what your idea was behind choosing them. So Ray, we're starting with the Chardonnay. So first, just a little background on Ray Isle. Renowned journalist. He is currently executive wine editor at Food and Wine Magazine and wine and spirits editor at Travel and Leisure. Previously had held a role at Wine and Spirits, which I just learned today. But sought after speaker. You might find him sometimes hanging out on the Today Show or other morning shows, giving out wine tips and expertise. So we're thrilled to have you here. And Chardonnay. So we've got Tyler Winery Santa Barbara Chardonnay. So why Chardonnay from Santa Barbara?
So I picked Tyler and I picked Chardonnay and I picked Santa Barbara, all kind of rolled into one reason. By the way, I'm in the wine. This is the wine room at Food and Wine. It is not. Everybody thinks this is like a fake background, but it's like these are actual bottles. They come out and they move around. So and they can be opened and drunk. And and
that's your job.
I've been working here by myself. It's a strange situation. But first off, I picked Chardonnay because I think that one, it's the most popular grape in the US. It has been for a long time. It's the most chameleon-like grape to me. It can be everything from taut and acidic to rich and buttery and oaky to, you can make a dessert wine out of it. You can make, you make a beautiful champagne out of it. It is the most versatile grape. And at the same time, it's a very polarizing grape. Some people say they love Chardonnay. A lot of people love to hate Chardonnay. They also assume that the version of Chardonnay they hate is the only version of Chardonnay. And so it's kind of both popular and complicated at the same time. So I picked it for that reason. I shamelessly admit I'm working on an article about Chardonnay. And if anybody out there who's listening now, if you're looking at this later on YouTube and you want to get in touch with me and tell me what you think about Chardonnay, I'm easily findable at Isle Wine, ISLE Wine on Twitter, or Ray Isle, at Ray Isle on Instagram. Send me a note, tell me what you think about Chardonnay. But I picked Tyler. This is Santa Barbara County. He's actually in the Santa Rita Hills area. It's a guy named Justin Willett. He's a young, I think, incredibly talented winemaker. Makes primarily Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. And this is a Santa Barbara County blend. It's from 3 or 4 really, really good vineyards: Rincon Vineyard, Bienacido Vineyard. That's kind of a blend of Santa Maria Valley and Santa Rita Hills. And what I like about it is that it's got a certain amount of amplitude. It's got a certain amount of that Chardonnay kind of depth of flavor and body that you want, but it's got really sort of beautiful focus and beautiful intensity. And part of that's to do with what it's like making wine in the Santa Barbara County, and particularly in the areas he's working in. People think of Santa Barbara, when you think of it as being Southern California and warm and sort of buttery sunshine, and everybody's kind of lying on the beach in a bathing suit, running away from the fires, whatever it is. But the truth is that the Pacific is cold, and anybody who's ever jumped into the Pacific knows the Pacific is cold. And so when you get winds off the Pacific, they're quite cold. And what's interesting about Santa Barbara area is that you've got a lot of east-west valleys, which is unusual. Most valleys in California run north-south. You've got the Sierras and so on run north-south. But you've got these east-west valleys that basically channel cold wind off the Pacific. And what that does is it brings it brings down the ripeness level, and it brings down the heat level, and it keeps the acidity in the wine incredibly fresh. And so when you taste this wine, to me, it smells, it's got that beautiful kind of lemon, somewhere between lemon and mango kind of aroma to it, a little bit of floral character. You don't pick up much oak because there's not much new oak on this wine. It's primarily neutral barrels, almost exclusively. You take a sip, and that's Chardonnay, but that's Chardonnay that's it's tight, it's like a guitar, it's like a high note guitar string when you ping it, and I love that with Chardonnay, and I particularly like it when it comes to pairing with food, because acidity is your friend with food. It cuts through fat. It enlivens your palate. It's a lot like the same way you squeeze lemon on something to give it some brightness. You can take the kind of European view that wine is a condiment in a sense. It's an accompaniment to food, and that brightness compared with that kind of then continuing flavor, because you start to pick up some of it's almost like a little toasty brioche kind of thing on the finish, and that brightness together with that long flavor is just a gorgeous combination when it comes to pairing with food. And you could put this with oysters, and you could put this with a roast chicken with a cream sauce. It can go in between. It can. I don't necessarily think I would pour it with short ribs in a slow braise, but but it's wildly versatile. The other thing is, for me, for the holidays, and it comes up with Thanksgiving all the time. It's like, what wine pairs with turkey? What wine pairs with everything?
And everybody writes about that every year.
Every year.
Even though the food barely changes.
The turkey basically tastes like nothing. We all know this.
You've got to do something.
But I've essentially adopted the view that the point is really to pair the wine to the people who are coming. And I always think holidays are not the time to pull out your funky, natural, off the wall weirdo wine that you love, because even in this somewhat restricted situation we're in now, you've got your family, you've got your grandparents, you've got your parents, you've got your aunt, your uncle, your everybody. And so finding that wine that walks the line that everybody will like is an interesting one. And I think often Chardonnay can work very well that way, especially when it a little bit of a on the fence balance wine like this, where it's bright enough to please the Sauvignon Blanc lovers, but it's rich enough to please the Chardonnay lovers.
Right.
So that's kind of why I went for it. And plus, I just think this guy Justin's a stellar talent. I'll say one thing. This is just a quote from him. He said, as far as what I'm trying to accomplish in Chardonnay, I just want things to be crisp and clean and mineral. I think the environment here really lends itself to that style of wine. He's talking about where he is in Santa Barbara County. It's unique to be able to get things ripe, yet still have those low pHs and high acidity. And he's right about that combo platter of ripeness and high acidity and low pHs.
Yeah, I love this because when I drink it too, I mean, to me, there is this richness that comes through, especially on that nose, but then the acidity is just kind of disarming when you taste it. It's like this zest. It's like, woo!
I was turning on my stove the other day, and there's that little, I have a gas stove, and there's that little thing that clicks that lights the gas. It's that little tiny spark, and the little blue spark, and that reminds me of this. It's got that little click of
it just wakes you up. Well, this is beautiful. I love this. I've seen this wine a lot, but I haven't tried it, and I like the label, which is always just kind of fun extra to enjoy. But I enjoy the wine a lot. Karen, you tasting?
Yeah.
This wine?
Thoughts on the Tyler? Well, I loved Ray's word amplitude. That's such a really interesting word that I don't think I've ever used or thought about, but the idea that it grows on your palate, that you taste it and that it somehow builds on itself in those few seconds is such a nice idea. And I agree with Ray that this is a super crowd pleaser and it's time to make people happy. And so yeah, I'm pretty thumbs up on this too. Thanks, Ray. This is a great choice.
Anytime.
Kevin, what about you?
I think that I can't wait to read the article that Ray is writing.
Yeah, me too.
I think that Chardonnay in the United States has an identity crisis. It's all of those things that you're saying. And that whole group that went ABC, anything but Chardonnay 20 years ago, was right. Because California, in my opinion, they over-oaked the Chardonnays. The high alcohol and that oak gave a bitterness. These were not wines with food. This is absolutely positively one of the nicest Chardonnays I've had from California. It's, as you were talking about before, the acidity. And exactly what I would say if I was writing about this wine. It's not a Sauvignon Blanc, and it's not really the Chardonnay that you know. It's a little bit in between. And I like the concept of, if you will, unoaked Chardonnay. I think that's a really important thing. And there was a lot of apple in there for the people that still have a little bit left. I got the apple, and the end for me was a lemon lime zest that continued on. And that's how I look at a good bottle of wine, that it just continues on and on and on. So I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
Glad you guys like it. Yeah.
Nice work.
I was going to say, I'm going to say one thing, which is Karen brought it to mind. All of us have been in this business a while. We're not getting younger, but as you go through the business, you collect these. You go through working wine, you collect these things that people say to you occasionally that resonate. And I remember talking to Bernard Portet from Clos de Val, who's not there anymore. He hasn't been there a long time, but he said that it was one of those things. Like, this is like 17 years ago, that caught my mind. That a really good wine should, at the end of the taste, should unfold sort of like a peacock's tail. It should just go like that, and the flavors sort of expand. And it's always struck me that was a really beautiful way to describe the finish of a wine, of a good wine at least.
Yeah. No, that's so true, because to me, I mean, a long finish is very important, but when a long finish continues to evolve and change, that's
cool.
Thank you. Okay, our next wine is a Pinot Noir, and it's coming from Karen McNeil. So Karen, hello. Karen, just a quick intro, brief, because again, like I said, we could go on and on about these amazing wine people. Celebrated author of the Wine Bible. You may have it. I have a copy. I have an old copy and a new copy, but this is the old copy. And Karen's also been honored with the James Beard Wine and Spirits Professional of the Year Award. She's creator of Wine Speed, which I am signed up for, and I get. It's a great, well-designed, fun digital newsletter. obviously on wine. So that's a fun thing to know. But you've just been so well recognized for all of your writing. I mean, we have some incredible writers all here together, but appreciate you being here. Excited to find out about the wine you chose, which I do drink often, but this is the brewer-clifton Santa Rita Hills Pinot Noir. So we're back in Santa Barbara.
We are back in Santa Barbara. And, you know, one of the I know this is going to sound like heresy, but one of the things I've sometimes wondered is if California Pinot Noir had come to be and evolved before Burgundy, would all those people in Burgundy just throw up their hands and say, never mind, we can't do it? Because in the last, I would say 15 years, California Pinot Noir from the coast, as Ray was pointing out, from, you know, it's like a string of pearls going from Mendocino all the way to Santa Barbara. In some parts of that coast, you could even I could throw a baseball into the ocean. Pinot Noir that is grown along the coast has gotten so good, and it remains something of an untold story. Well, within that story, though, Brewer-Clifton has been hard at work for longer than 15 years. And I think the key appeal here is how it feels, right? We often talk about wine flavor, and, you know, and all three of us have written a million tasting notes that say, you know, lemon and mango and apple and whatever. But for a lot of us, you know, when you're standing there in your kitchen with just your significant other and you taste a good wine, sometimes it's really how it feels that really gets to you very quickly. And no wine is more textural, in my opinion, than Pinot Noir. It's silk meets satin. This is a family program, so I'm probably not going to go farther than that, but you could just imagine that we could go farther than that. There's also a kind of unctuousness to the middle of this wine. And so Pinot Noir also has, especially great California Pinot Noirs like this Brewer-Clifton, have the ability to be both kind of rich in the middle, but light at the same time. If you're a sushi eater, then they remind, if you're like a really sushi connoisseur, they remind me of something like uni or toro, where it's light kind of, but it's also super unctuous and very, very rich. Greg Brewer, by the way, who I met, I think, maybe the second week after he stopped being a professor of French and philosophy in Santa Barbara and decided to become largely a self-taught winemaker. Just a month or so ago, won Wine Enthusiast Winemaker of the Year award. He's a man who certainly has paid his dues. He really lives and breathes this wine, and also makes great Chardonnay.
Yeah.
But for sheer, as we were talking about earlier, because of 2020, for sheer hedonism, because we need it now, I had to choose a really sensual Pinot Noir, and this Brewer-Clifton is it.
I'm so glad you did.
And it's a deal. It's a deal. It's like $30.
It's an absolute. So Greg was on. We did a show on Santa Barbara, and Greg came on. And not only is he an amazing winemaker, who's just very smart, he's a lovely person. He is just one of the nicest, most kind-hearted people who really is interested in what you are interested in, what you enjoy and would like to drink. So I'm so glad you chose this. And I love this. I mean, he makes wonderful Chardonnay, but this Pinot is one of those kind of sensual, luscious. And I like that you kind of talked about that hedonistic and then that balance, but that acidity. I feel like we had just started Chardonnay and just had Pinot Noir from the same region that's able to have that balance.
You know, there's something else, Gwendolyn, that I would just add, which is many of our viewers would know the name Kermit Lynch, a really important importer in California. And I remember as a young journalist going to talk to Kermit Lynch once, and we were tasting wines. We were standing up in his store, and we were tasting wine. I won't say what it was, but he could see that I wasn't necessarily all that enthralled. Maybe my pen wasn't moving very fast across the paper. And he looked at me and he said, you know, music isn't better because you play it louder. Music isn't better because you play it louder. Music is better when it's better. And sometimes the greatest music of all is something you have to listen in carefully to. And I got it. Yeah. I still get it. I understand that Pinot Noir has that ability to be compelling, in part because it's understated, in part because it draws you in part because you feel powerless in its grip when it's really good. So I love that about wine, right? I mean, we all love bold and powerful wines, but wine like this that is quiet music, it's pretty special sometimes.
Yeah, it's pretty. So when you're tasting this, just give us a couple of, I know, we talked about how it feels, but just for those who kind of want to hear a few of the flavors and
just I'd be in the world of
those out there.
I'd be in the world of salty, spicy, minerally, kind of earthy, root vegetable-y, like walking in a forest in Oregon, that kind of earthiness. And saltiness is, by the way, a really interesting permutation of minerality. There is no actual salt, we should say, in wine. Hopefully everyone knows that, but we should say there's no Na, right? There is no salt. But wines can appear salty. And when they do, they're like those little pinpricks of light, like little fireflies going off in the wine of energy and excitement. And that kind of an idea also makes wine, as Ray and Kevin were saying earlier, taste really good with food. It makes it, a bite of the wine makes you want to take a sip of the, a bite of the wine, sorry. A sip of the wine makes you want to take a bite of the food and back and forth. See, this is what happens to all of us. Wine and food become so much a part of each other that we think of them as the same thing. And then lots of red raspberry kind of fruit at the same time that you have all this nice spice and salty minerality.
And texture. Yeah, it's so pretty. Kevin, what are your thoughts on the wine?
I think that Pinot Noir is absolutely, positively the best wine to go with food. Actually, you gave some remarks about Karen, but I first met Karen when she was the wine and food editor for USA Today. So not only does Karen have the wine knowledge, but the food background as well. And I think that Karen mentioned the price, and this is the difficulty with Pinot Noir, is finding a great Pinot Noir that's going to be $30 and under. That's the different, and of course, anybody growing Pinot Noir is definitely passionate because it's such a headache grape. It's a headache grape to grow. It's a headache grape when you're in the winery, when you're making it, and when you get it home, and then you got to baby it and take it to the other side of the wine cellar. You have to, we're almost there. With Cabernet, just kick the wine over to the other side. This has got everything for me, and it's ready to drink. And I also wanted to mention, the Chardonnay was ready to drink, But Karen, let me ask you a question though. Are you using any special glasses, wine glass for this wine?
Oh, you are such a sweetheart. Yes, I am. I'm using a glass called the Creamy and Silky glass. These are glasses I've just come out with, just designed. They're based on flavor, and of course. And I've got Ray's wine, Chardonnay, in the same glass because both of these wines are creamy and silky. The Flavor First collection, and you can read about it on winespeed.com. Kevin, you're so sweet.
Kevin.
Thank you. I didn't ask him to do that.
I know Kevin would do that on his own. So yeah.
Ray and I we're sort of Nantucket guys. We did the Nantucket Wine and Food Festival. But this is for the people that are watching that are consumers, this is a lovely, I can't even use the word business. What an honor it has been, and a passion for me for now. This is actually my 50th year of studying wine. And I tell any young person out there, this is not just about wine and food, but the people that are involved. So we're best buddies, Karen and I.
It is. And it's about stories. That's how I got hooked in. As a history major, I got hooked into the stories behind it all. So, so Ray, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah,
I know you're a fan of brewer-clifton, like we all are.
I'm a fan of, I mean, honestly, when I was picking wines for this, I knew I was doing Chardonnay, and I was sort of down between Tyler and brewer-clifton. Karen chose brewer-clifton Pinot. I was like, okay, I'm doing Tyler. So I think Greg Brewer is making spectacular, whites and across the board. His Chardonnays are spectacular. Pinots are great. I'd also echo what Kevin said. That if you're out there and you're wondering what business you should be in, the wine business is a great business because it's full of people who are wonderful. It's full of people who are the only people. No one goes through college and says, "Oh God, I don't know what to do. I guess I'll just end up in the wine business." It's not like I've had various friends who went to law school going like, "I don't know what to do. I guess I'll go to law school." And wine is, everybody falls into it because they love wine, and it's been a wonderful business to be in, partly because wine's great, but mostly because of the people. I thought, going back to what Karen said, what I thought was really interesting when you were describing the flavor of this wine. All the first things you said before you got to raspberries were savory notes, were salt and mineral and earthiness and spice. And that's one, what I love about Pinot Noir. And two, one of the things that I think people kind of forget about in terms of wine, that it's not just fruit flavors. It's those other flavors, the savory side as opposed to the fruity side, that are part of it as well, and part of what makes it so good with food. And and Pinot does that better than any other grape, I think, to balance those things. And so this wine, you smell it, and there's fruit there, but there's also this kind of beautiful spice note that sort of lingers somewhere back in your, basically, back if you've gotten tested for COVID, where they stick that thing like up into your, it's like, who knew your nose went back that far? Well, back there is where the spice notes of this kind of linger. And then, and then you take
it's more pleasant. It's more pleasant is what you're saying.
Much more pleasant. And you take a sip, and there's fruit, but there's a tiny note of bitterness, which is a very appealing bitterness. Bitterness is underrated as a quality in wine. I think it can be with food. There's it's almost like a little tiny hint of pepper. There's ground black pepper, and it all gives it that kind of beautiful complexity. It's an incredibly cool wine.
Yeah.
This is just going to be a praise fest where we all like each other's wine.
You all chose the wines, and for a good reason. These are going to please a lot of palates. They're going to go with food. They'll be great gifts. And that's
another thing I say is that one reason these are great gifts is, I always think with gifts, it's nice to give someone something that isn't what they'll run into every single day at the store. You can go out and buy a bottle of, not to knock Veuve Clicquot, it makes a great gift, but everybody has given Veuve Clicquot to someone. It's probably the most re-gifted wine on the planet, in fact. Whereas Tyler or brewer-clifton or the Côte d'Aron that we're getting to, these aren't brands that people automatically know anything about. And it says that, in what you're saying, essentially, I love this, and I think this is really cool, and I think you'll be turned on by it too.
Right.
That's a good gift.
Yeah, because I was about to say that these aren't quite what we'd call off the beaten path by any means, but they're off the grocery shelf.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not quite on there.
They're not off the beaten path because we're looking at Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Côte d'Aron. These are very classic categories, but they're not the million case production you see it everywhere kind of wines.
Right.
Can I ask Karen, what food would you have with this, Karen? Because you got to be careful. With Pinot Noir, in my opinion. Because it's such a delicate wine, soft, and this is why chefs don't like me. Chefs don't like me because when I'm doing a wine and food dinner, I say, tone it down. I got a Pinot Noir that's got this, as I said, elegance. So what's your choice there?
Yeah, well, it's probably not, the jalapeno burrito wine of the year, but I don't know. I also believe that it's more important to match wine with mood than to match wine with food. And I just think if you watch happy endings, right? Meaning that we remember the dinner parties that we used to have, or people standing around in the kitchen. People are happiest when they're drinking what they want to drink and they're eating what they want to eat. But still, you're so right, Kevin. To me, short of just really tearing out the Thai spices and the Indian spices and the Mexican spices, a simple roast chicken, I don't know, a salmon, a little poached salmon in the frying pan, something that is kind of what I would think of as kind of regular comfort food. Turkey soup tonight, maybe, is the world of Pinot Noir for me. And of course, if you love cheese and if you eat cheese in advance before dinner as opposed to after dinner, man, standing in your own kitchen and just having a couple of really good cheeses and a glass of Pinot Noir, pretty hard to beat.
Yeah.
I throw in mushroom risotto too.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah.
That'd be good with this wine.
Yep. Thank you.
Anytime.
Also sounds comfort food-ish too. Well, thank you for choosing this, Karen. It was delicious, lovely. One of all of our favorites. So Kevin, next pick from Kevin Zraly. So Kevin is founders of Windows on the World Wine School, which I actually attended in 2002. And I still have my 2002 textbook from that class up here. So are we on the 35th edition now?
Yeah. Just came out.
35th edition is out. We also have that. But I was going all vintage here with that and the old wine Bible. And I think we've got a food and wine from '02 as well. Just kind of, my stocking from when I was one, just, getting all old school here. But Kevin has been writing and teaching. He's got that quintessential book right there. But and I also want to mention that Ray Isle has written about the top books you need in your wine library. And they include both the wine Bible and the complete wine course here. So
Thanks, Ray.
Full circle.
Go
And, Kevin has also received the James Beard Lifetime Achievement Award in 2011. So yes, those 50 years have been very well spent in the business. So thank you for coming back and talking about wine. And you are a lover of France, Kevin, and have chosen something from the Rhone, which is one of my favorite regions as well. So this is the Château La Neutre, Les Cassanes, Côte-Rhône Village. What about the Rhone stands out to you, especially during this season?
Well, I want to bring up that my counterparts, my lovely counterparts, decided to go California, and they should, in a way. I mean, 90% of all American alcohol comes from the state of California, so that's a known. 75% of what Americans drink is coming from the United States of America. Makes sense. But when I started long time ago in 1970, California, forget about it. When I went out to California, I hitchhiked out to California in 1972, there might have been 24 wineries in Napa. And now, Karen, I think it's over 450. You're there, so I'm not positive. Maybe it's even 500 right now. So I cut my teeth, if you will, on wine with French wines. And that's all there was. French wines and German whites. The Italians weren't doing anything. Spanish wines, forget about it. And all the other places around the world, like I said before, this is a great time to buy wine around the world. The golden age of wine is now. So why did I choose this? I remember distinctly when I didn't have any money, I still don't, but traveling around on a Urel pass and staying at youth hostels. That's how I did it when I went to France. Early I was maybe 23 or 24 years old, but I remember this always. In the dining car, there were two wines, a red, Côte de Rhône and a Beaujolais. And I always remember that it was an 8-hour trip for me to go from Burgundy to Bordeaux by train. And if I wanted to sleep, I took the Rhône wine because it had higher alcohol. I slept better. And so I have memories, and I'm going to say this right now, what's old is new again. The first wine I ever had was a Beaujolais Village. And then after that, it became the Rhone Valley. And they're both two of the greatest wines still, in my opinion. And price-wise, The Rhone Valley is sort of like it was Bordeaux. Everybody's talking about Bordeaux. Everybody's talking about Burgundy and Burgundy. Of course, Champagne is Champagne, right? And everybody didn't think about the Rhone Valley. And my second favorite grape in the world. I'm going to be honest. I'm a red wine drinker. And my favorite grape is Cabernet Sauvignon. Second favorite grape is Grenache. And Grenache grape variety, and this is what we're talking about. I can actually tell you right now, this is a 60% Grenache. It's 30% Syrah. It's 10% Mourvedre. And how do I know that? Because it tells me on the back of the bottle. I'm not that smart, and that's what you have to do, because the French don't tell you. Usually, this is all new, that they put the names of the grapes back there. This is probably for the American market. They want to know what it is. Anyhow, let's talk about where we are. We're in France, as anybody knows my circles, and we're in, the Rhone Valley, which is easy to say. I like Rhone Valley, Napa Valley, Sonoma Valley, Santa Barbara. It's easy for people to say. And it's a wine that's called Côte du Rhône Bailliage, meaning that it's higher level than just a regular Côte du Rhône. But this is also the home of Châteauneuf-du-Pape. And I haven't admitted this yet on your program, but I started wine as an altar boy. I just want everybody to know that. Father Matarazzo is still now, he's retired in Louisville, Kentucky. And I said to him one time, I said, Father, what do I do with this leftover wine? He said, oh, Kevin, that's sacred. You have to be very, pour it carefully down the sink. I carefully poured it in my mouth. That was actually my first taste of wine, not the greatest thing in the world. And then Châteauneuf-du-Pape, new house of the Pope. Okay. And so growing up Catholic and being an altar boy, and like you, a history major, I was fascinated by Châteauneuf-du-Pape. The Lanurth, by the way, just so you know, is 500 years old. The grapevine, history.
Right.
And then you go on to, why was it called Châteauneuf-du-Pape? Why did the popes go there? Because there was a lot of trouble in Rome, in Vatican City, back in 1307. History again. They moved it to Avignon, and then started planting these grapes and made this unbelievable wine. It's one of my favorite wines. This wine is not a Châteauneuf-du-Pape. This wine is a Côte du Rhône, but it's made by a Châteauneuf-du-Pape producer. And that's how I look at it. So let's just try the wine, because this will be the biggest and fullest of all of the wines that we're having. And I do this with my students, and you can see through the Chardonnay, obviously. You can see through the Pinot Noir. You know why I look at that? Because it tells me, if I can see through that Pinot Noir, it's ready to drink. I'm asking people to do this on an angle. I don't have your glasses yet, Karen. You're sending them, correct? You're sending the glasses to me?
They're coming. For both of
As
you.
soon as you send her that case of wine, I think the glasses are going to be sent out.
Oh,
Thanks,
excellent.
Gwen.
I asked for 10 cases of wine from Karen. This is not a joke. Anyhow,
Coming.
here's how I look at the wine. So people out there, Karen has her own way. Ray has his own way. Here's what I'm going to do. I look down on an angle like this, and a white background underneath it. I put it under here. And the question I would ask for all the people out there, talk to your neighbor. I'm sure you're not alone on this. Can you see through it? And I'm going to say right now, I cannot. So my decision is, maybe it's not ready to drink, or maybe not. It's going to have low tannins. That's going to be the low tannins are in the Pinot Noir. It's not dark and deep and rich. Okay, ready? I'm swirling the wine. I'm asking everybody to smell it once. Now, what I like about this wine is I'm getting both red and black fruits. That's what I'm getting here. Sometimes, like, Karen was talking about raspberry. I am getting raspberry in here. I'm getting a little bit of black raspberry and red raspberry. But here's the key to the Zraly method. Put your hand over the top and swirl it around. Ray, you've seen this before.
I've seen this before. It works.
It really does work. I had no idea why nobody does this. Ready? 1, 2, 3, open it up. Now I got blackberry. Now I got spicy plum. I'm even getting like a little hint of licorice in there, and
Yes,
I love black
that's what
licorice.
I said licorice, mentholy, licoricey.
It's just so, what's the word? Full. Not to take away from the Pinot Noir, which is elegant and soft. This is a fuller bodied wine. It's 14.5% alcohol. It's a totally different food. And everybody toast somebody, toast everybody. You got to click your glass, even if you're alone. Use your fingers.
Hey,
Toast
2 glasses.
Thank you, Ray. That's how we're gonna go on a road show. Give the wine a try.
It's fantastic, Kevin. It's a great wine.
Great bottle of wine.
It's a great bottle of wine.
Yeah, and so Kevin, I'll come back to you. I just wanted to shout out for Chateau Lannert because, like you said, it's 500 years old. I've been to the property; it's stunning. They make a fantastic Chateauneuf de Pape, but we had a Rhone show, and Christophe came and talked about the Chateauneuf de Pape. So, and Greg Brewer was here, so I feel like we're all coming into these amazing wines with amazing people and amazing stories. So, continue on. What are we tasting? What's in that glass?
The bottom line is this is not oak. All right, we're not getting oak here because as a matter of fact, it's cement tanks. So you went there, I went there. We all probably have gone there to visit cement tanks. So you're not getting the tannins that they have a long maceration. Let me explain quickly maceration. They actually take all three of those grapes, put them together and ferment them together. So everybody's got a choice. There's thousands of choices how to make your wine. And then they keep it there. So there's no oak tannins coming in. So all the tannins that you're getting here are directly from the skin and the long maceration. Length on and on and on. And, here's what I'm saying. You mentioned my book, The Windows on the World book. In the back of it, I have 800 wines that are under $30. This is 1999. And it's giving me so much of the word Karen uses, pleasure. And, I need a little bit more body. I need a little bit more depth. And it doesn't have that. What's the word I'm looking for? Sometimes there's too much tannin. And I drink this wine right now. As a matter of fact, I have a steak. Just so everybody knows, steak is now going to go on right after
burning.
This.
Hopefully not.
Burning. Oh, yeah. Hopefully on hold.
I'll send it to you out in California. Tomorrow I'll send it. That's a steak wine. That's all I have to say. I love
yeah. So I think that's coming back to your point earlier too on the whole price and how excited you are just about the wine world today of just all the regions you can go to and all the regions we have access to now also with these possibilities. And some of them you might not be able to pronounce or they won't always make sense, but there's just a lot of great opportunity there. So
I think this wine, Kevin, if I can say, is, I don't know, I'm coming to you. You're both in New York, and I know, Gwendolyn, you're in Virginia. I'm coming to you from the Napa Valley, and it's kind of a cold, gray night, unusually for the Napa Valley. It sort of feels good, and in the way that bad weather sometimes can feel good. And this wine seems so soul satisfying, right? You just, you didn't spend a lot for it, but it's just so over delivering and so sheerly delicious. It's just a terrific wine. It's a terrific wine.
It's, and I'm sure you're familiar with Chateau Lannert as well, though, Karen. Have
yes, been there too. Yep,
been there too. Ray, what are your thoughts on the wine?
Yeah, I mean, over delivering is a very good word for it because there's a lot of Côte du Rhône in the world, and a lot of it's fine. I mean, perfectly good, even a good deal. This is a steal. This is a killer wine for the price. I mean, Lannert's Chateauneufs are great too, but this, and it is one of those, like, sort of like tips in terms of buying wine. If there's a producer of high-end wine who makes great high-end wine, they're the great Brunello producers. Rosso di Montalcino will be one to look at. The great, Chateauneuf producers, Côte du Rhône is going to be one to look at. It's the same thing with Beaucastel, where they've got Côte de Beaucastel that's right across the street from their Chateauneuf vineyards. It's a steal. It's more expensive than this. I love this wine, and it's like I wish I had a steak, sitting around somewhere. I need a steak. Where's my steak? But it is that kind of cold weather. You're cold, the wind's blowing. You shut the door behind you. There's no more wind. You ditch your coat. You want a glass of wine. That's the wine you want. It sort of warms you up. The funny thing, and I was checking this. The funny thing is, it's actually exactly the same alcohol as the Pinot Noir.
Interesting.
You wouldn't think. You would think it was like a bigger, more, intensely alcoholic wine, and it's more that it's got that sort of warm. It's all those warm fruits and warm spices to it. That make it sort of feel rounder and bigger. And it's got a fair amount of tannins, but they're all very soft tannins at the same time. They're not spiking into your tongue. I mean, I've also written it up in the magazine. I do like it as a wine, but it's it's great to taste it again. It's a killer
Yeah,
bottle of wine.
I love what you guys are saying, because I'm like, okay, fuzzy slippers, fireplace, cold night.
Yeah.
Good book. Kind of like, it's a Christmas vibe, I'd say. You have all these things going on at Christmas. Kind of smells like that Christmas spice.
This is like,
Ray,
we said let's get fancy. Oh, sorry. We
no,
said
Ray, you're in a real
fancy.
wine cellar. This is a fake tree behind me. Okay, you have real wine. This is a fake tree behind me.
Yeah. I just say we all decided to get a little bit fancy for this, and it's like, so I put on a jacket. This is the first time I've worn a jacket in 8 months or whatever. But this is a good pajamas by the fire wine. There's no question.
Well, thank you for sharing all of these great wines. I'm just thrilled with the setup. For those of you who were watching at home, we still have this trio available on Wine.com. If we haven't sold you on them, I don't know what else we can do, but these are great for either giving as gifts, or obviously for drinking on your, yourself, with your friends, loved ones, whoever you're able to spend some time with this season. And, you all have so many wonderful tidbits and things to say. If people who are watching and tasting want to find you, could you give us a couple of ways for them to do that, please? And Karen, I'll start with you.
I'm easily findable on Instagram at Karen MacNeil Co, or just Karen at KarenMcNeill.com, or our great, hopefully great, I think, we work hard at it every week anyway, winespeed.com. And it's always very easy to get in touch with us through winespeed.com. Thanks for asking.
And the Wine Bible, which is just one of those.
And the Wine Bible. Yep, the Wine Bible
to have in your library.
Right in there.
Ray has told us. Yes. So Ray, what about you?
I'm very easy to find on social media. So I'm on Instagram at Ray Isle, at Ray Isle. It's ISLE. It's not Ray Isles. A lot of people want to put an S on the end. It's just Ray Isle, like, an isle in the ocean, Ray Isle. And then Twitter, for really weird, complicated reasons, because there's a retired guy in Australia who lives on Raymond Island off the coast of Melbourne. He got Ray Isle before I did. So I'm Isle Wine on Twitter. Go figure. But should you want to find me on Twitter. And then Food and Wine. So our content on Food and Wine is not a paywall. So I'm on the Food and Wine website with a whole lot of writing over a lot of years. And
yeah.
I'm
a whole lot of wonderful writing. And also remember, if you have any thoughts on Chardonnay,
please weigh in. I don't care what media. You can send me a messenger pigeon. It's passenger pigeon you can't send, they're extinct, but messenger pigeon. But also current issue of Food and Wine, December, amazing cookie recipes, but also 25 bottles that I think make great gifts. I'm in the magazine every month. So
which drinking and making cookies is totally what I'm doing for the next few weeks. So
why not?
Thank you. And Kevin, how can people reach you and find you?
Yeah, you have to call my mother.
Okay.
So
I have your book resume somewhere.
Oh, right. My mother did that one. Correct. Actually, it's very simple. KevinZraly.com. And some people don't know this, but Gwendolyn, we're sort of working together here with Wine.com. And I ended the Windows in the World Wine School 3 years ago, the live version, for many good reasons, to do advanced classes and master classes, et cetera. But if you told me 8 months ago I'd be doing Zoom classes, I didn't even know what Zoom was. And I'm sitting here in my living room right now with this fake tree behind me saying, I can't believe that we're having such a great time. I don't know why it took so long. So the Windows in the World Virtual Wine School we just finished our 6 weeks, 2 weeks ago. And the wines are sourced through Wine.com. And we had over 1,000 people listening in to all of the classes, 6 classes. They begin in January. I'm going to do advanced classes in, when am I doing them? In April or something like that. And it's not please don't mention Wine Bible again, because it's my major competitor. Exactly. I don't want to talk about Wine Bible. The only thing I'll say about the 35th edition, which I'm very, very proud of, it's a 50-page insert. Ray, you were part of it. Karen, you were part of it. And it's my from 1970 to 2020, 50 years as windows on the wine and food revolution in the United States, a 50-year perspective. And that's cool. In the new edition. And it was, I had plenty of time, by the way. It was April, May, and June to write it. So I had nothing. I had a
Nothing
fantastic.
but time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, all of you, for being here. I just want to kind of bring it in, with it's not competition, because you have Ray here writing these amazing articles on how to find books by both of you, and both are required for a good wine library. So it's really this, like we said, it's about the people. That whole wine business, we love all the people. And so thank you. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you, Ray.
It was a blast.
Thanks,
Thank you very
Gwendolyn.
much. And a happy
All right,
holidays to
everyone.
everybody too.
Happy holidays to everybody. May you have wonderful wine, friends, food. Cheers.
Cheers. I
Cheers.
don't have
Cheers.
any wine left. I drank it all.
I know.
What are you going to do with
Thank
the
you,
steak?
everybody.
Chin chin. Thank you. Thank you. See you guys around the campus.
It's both a science and a form of high art. It's made from the combination of grapes, sunlight, rain, soil, and time. It's raised up in the moments that matter. It's wine. And we are Wine.com. We have the largest wine selection in the world, online sommeliers with free advice, and now our powerful new app puts the entire world of wine in your hands. Wine.com. Seriously passionate about wine. Download our free app today.